Cedar Point is building its 9th roller coaster. That's more than any other theme park in the country. As Dick Berry reports tonight, it's going to be the granddaddy of them all.
Upon completion, there's going to be no other ride like it in the world. Magnum XL-200, the world's highest and fastest roller coaster.
Magnum is going to be a white knuckle ride. It's 201 feet to the peak, and you're going to be dropping at a 60-degree angle.
And what a screamer. That's 70 miles an hour, 2.5 Gs. The rest of the 2.5-minute ride along the shoreline shoots you up and down short, queasy hills and through a couple of tunnels.
People like to be frightened. They love to be frightened. They go to horror movies and they ride roller coasters, and there's really no limit to what's going to frighten people.
At $8 million, Magnum is the biggest construction project in Cedar Point history. Building it is like putting together a mile-long erector set.
If we receive delivery of the entire job prior to putting anything up, we wouldn't have room to store it all. So we have to make sure that this sequence in fabrication and delivery matches that of the steel erection.
Point of reference to all this, the Gemini. The 10-year-old wooden neighbor to Magnum is 125 feet tall, races along at 60 miles an hour, and has a 55-degree drop. Don't worry, you'll notice the difference.
Hey, fun that you were just talking about, Jerry, the Magnum XL-200. And as we say goodnight tonight, how about one more last look at that?
Has always had its ups and downs.
Ups and downs, right. 7 roller coasters, but now 8 of them are open.
Tonight, Dick Berry takes us for a ride on the $8 million Magnum XL-200.
Hold on tight. The world's highest roller coaster, the world's fastest roller coaster, is now open for business. A 60-degree, 200-foot drop at 70 miles an hour. That's just the beginning of your 2.5 minutes of terror on Cedar Point's Magnum.
We are anticipating a record year, no question about it. The amount of publicity I think we're going to get out of this is hard to even put a handle on.
Thrill-seeking members of ACE, the American Coaster Enthusiasts, are first-day riders.
Fantastic ride. Loved it. It never slows down. You just speed along, going up and down hills. It's incredible. Wonderful ride.
Not everybody agrees, though. Some preferring the old-fashioned wooden coasters.
More hit less, you know, the creaking of the wood and everything. And steel coasters are nice. They're smooth and everything. And on a wood coaster, just give you that old feeling.
But most ACE members are left breathless and can't wait to jump back on board for another scary lap.
The best thing about it really is the speed and the height, the drop. The sheer drop is so good. It's fabulous, incredible. The speed, the drop, the pacing is perfect. It's wonderful.
And just how soon will it be before a taller roller coaster comes along? Well, according to one member of ACE, in the coming weeks, a California amusement park is going to announce it's going to build a 250-foot high coaster, 250 feet. Obviously, in this business, the sky's the limit. Dick Berry, Toledo 11 News, Cedar Point.
Today for Cedar Point's new Magnum XL-200, billed as the world's tallest and fastest roller coaster. A 14,000-pound chain used to pull the cars up the 201-foot first hill broke while the train was making its ascent, an incline that's equivalent to a 20-story building. There were no injuries, though, as the emergency brakes kept the coaster from slipping backwards. 36 people aboard the ride were ushered down a metal staircase along the track. The Magnum is today closed while it's undergoing repairs. It was 1 month ago yesterday that the coaster made its debut in Sandusky.
tallest, fastest, steepest roller coaster in the world, where it broke yesterday. Now, no one was injured, but the roller coaster is still out of service right now, and tonight at 6 o'clock we'll tell you what happened.
After Cedar Point showcases the world's steepest, highest, and fastest roller coaster, the Magnum XL-200 grinds to a halt. Late yesterday, the chain snapped, leaving riders in midair until escorted safely to the ground. Janice Lane reports.
Cedar Point's Magnum XL-200 is advertised as the thrill of a lifetime. However, that thrill was cut short yesterday afternoon when the coaster stopped abruptly on its first incline. Since then, crewmen have been working around the clock trying to find out why the coaster's chain snapped and stranded its passengers.
I don't think that it's really going to tarnish Cedar Point's image. We handled it very professionally. No one was hurt.
The timing of the Magnum's breakdown is ironic. It was 11 years ago this month that Cedar Point first began bragging rights about having the fastest, steepest coasters. Back then, it was the Gemini. This sign is what greets parkgoers anxious to ride the Magnum today.
We have heard all the comments about the injuries, and so the little ones wouldn't have been too excited about it.
We made a special trip to go on the ride, and we came here, it was closed. So we couldn't, I don't know if we're going to go on it.
Oh, it doesn't bother me too much. I'm sure it takes, assuming there haven't been any major incidents with it, it takes a while to get, the bugs worked out of anything that's new, usually.
I wouldn't go on it, period, but I suppose it may change a lot of people's mind about going on it.
After repairs and a thorough check from top to bottom, inspectors will test the cars, but park officials have yet to determine how long it will be before the Magnum's back on track. Janice Lane, Toledo 11 News, Cedar Point.
The medical report to remind her of her last ride on the Magnum Friday. She is diagnosed as having whiplash. Sue claims she could not reach the safety rails once she was inside the coaster car.
Well, I'm a dancer, and I can't, mess around. They don't know if this is it. They say that, I may have more injuries, that more injuries may result. So we really have to do a lot of following up with the doctors and that.
Cedar Point has since claimed responsibility for Sue's injuries and agrees to pay all her medical costs. Jeff?
Like a bullet back on May 6th, Cedar Point's Magnum XL-200 made its debut, plunging and winding its way through 5,106 feet of tubular steel track. The crowds were, as usual, lined up today for a ride on the world's tallest and fastest scream machine. But in the past weeks, the coaster has gone through a bumpy ride as it faced many glitches. Last night, the Magnum's one car stopped about 15 feet from the top of this 200-foot hill, first hill that is, after the other car stalled on this curve that's coming up, known as the bow tie curve. That's about 80 feet above the ground and water. Firefighters from Huron and Norwalk had to rescue 33 riders from the two cars using cherry pickers. Earlier this month, the ride was down for 3 days after a 7-ton drive chain broke. Joining us now live to give us a status report from Sandusky is Robin Innes from Cedar Point's Public Relations Office. And Mr. Innes, thanks so much for being with us. And first of all, the Magnum XL is operational again today, right?
That is right. We opened up this morning about a little before 11 a.m. It's been running throughout the day without any problem.
Now, tell us how this ride is propelled once it goes down its first hill.
Well, we use the chain lift to take it up to the top of the hill. Once it's released from the top of the hill, it's all gravity. Gravity and momentum carries it down the first hill, up the second and third hills, and around to the rest of the course.
Now, a pretty stiff wind last night, I believe 45 miles per hour, caused the first car to stop, and then the second one. How did that have an effect on the cars, the wind, that is?
Well, the wind did affect the first car. The very strong wind, upwards of 45 miles an hour plus, it came up over the lake and happened to catch the car as it was just entering the bow tie curve when it was starting on its incline. It offered enough resistance that it slowed it down and eventually stopped it on the bank curve. However, once that train stopped, now the second train that was stopped on the first hill, that was our part. That was the safety system clicking into gear. There was no mechanical problem. That's how the system should work. It's based on a section system, and no train is allowed into a section that already has another train in there. So that was, according to plans, that's the way the ride is designed.
You know, we've heard about these minor little snafus. Is this an example that there are problems with Magnum, or more a case that the safety features that were designed to do their job are actually doing the job?
I think it's an excellent example of the safety system doing its job. I think what happened was a very rare instance where something that we didn't expect, a very sudden wind that happened to come up at the most inopportune time when the ride was starting to ascend that incline on the bow tie. But other than that, everything worked as expected. The one car did stop as it's supposed to, and we were able to use the stairway to walk our guests down.
Okay, Robin Innes, thanks so much for joining us from Cedar Point to tell us. Give us a status report on the Magnum, and I understand